Good evening. This is CTV News for Monday, June 16th. I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, Maryland is one of 6 states and the District of Columbia to take a major step forward in an effort to clean up the Chesapeake Bay. In Annapolis this afternoon, Governor Martin O'Malley, Mayor Vincent Gray, and the governors of West Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania, and Delaware took turns signing a new landmark agreement. It's an update to a 14-year-old plan that guides restoration and conservation in the Bay's multi-state watershed. The 10-year blueprint covers how the states and the federal government will address the impact of climate change on the nation's largest estuary.
Within this agreement are 10 goals. They are goals for measurable, time-bound outcomes for sustainable fisheries, for healthy watersheds, less toxic contamination in our environment. That is, to take the actions based on science that we know will reduce the flow of nitrogen, phosphorus, and sedimentary pollution into the waters of the Chesapeake Bay region.
We have set ambitious goals and have developed a plan to accomplish them, 60% of them by 2017, and then fully 100% by 2025, some 11 to 12 years from now.
The agreement also includes a commitment to ensure that environmental literacy is part of education curriculums. Officials say the goals and outcomes set aside in the plan have been years in the making and agreed upon by all of the Bay partner programs. And waterkeepers across the region are speaking out against this new Chesapeake Bay Agreement. The coalition of 19 independent local organizations says the agreement fails to put enough specific measures in place and allows jurisdictions to opt out of goals with no accountability.
The bay is actually a dying resource. We have fewer crabs and oysters than ever before. We have more dead zones than ever before. People's likelihood of getting sick from swimming in these waters is actually on the increase. And yet we have an agreement that is totally not proportional. It's all going to be signed by the various bay-related states. And it's shocking. It's appalling that you would not have a proportional agreement that would actually meet head-to-head the level of the challenge we face. It's not an enforceable agreement. It leaves out many of the biggest impairments. I think it's something that's readily signable, but not something that's readily useful if you care about clean water.
And waterkeeper organizations are grassroots groups that conduct water quality monitoring, implement restoration projects, and occasionally use legal action to fight for clean water. Well, in international news, Sunni extremists advance in Iraq in a wave of violence over the weekend. In a media interview this morning, Secretary of State John Kerry says the Obama administration is willing to talk with Iran about the deteriorating security conditions. If the Iranians can help end the fighting, Kerry says the president is not ruling out U.S.-Iranian military cooperation, as well as drone strikes as possible options. CTV News caught up with Senator Ben Cardin at a meeting with Maryland military groups today. He says he's cautious about any partnership with Iran until the country agrees to give up its nuclear ambitions.
We certainly have interest in common with Iran in that region, and that is the protection of all of the different ethnic communities, and they certainly are very concerned when they see what's happening in Iraq today. So we do have a common interest for the Iraqi regime to be able to maintain order in all of Iraq.
And Cardin says while the U.S. can work with Iran on its agenda item, it cannot distract from major concerns about the country's nuclear weapons and its support of terrorism. Well, jury selection started today in the case of a former county executive candidate in Upper Marlboro, Randy McCray, a former board member for the Central Prince George's Community Development Corporation, has been charged with 5 counts, including theft and counterfeit. McCray allegedly opened a bank account and filed false invoices with the county to obtain $25,000 in reimbursement from grant funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The trial is expected to begin this Wednesday. Well, Prince George's County will handle the abduction case of a Montgomery County judge who was reportedly having an affair with the alleged kidnapper, a convicted felon. 24-year-old Ricky Senning fled to Florida after the alleged abduction of Circuit Court Judge Audrey Creighton on May 19th. Senning was returned to Maryland over the weekend after fleeing to Florida and is being held without bond. Court records show that Creighton had served as Senning's public defender in a trespassing case when he was 19. The Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office has recused itself from the proceedings, and Prince George's Assistant State's Attorney Christine Murphy has been assigned to the case.